let's agree that we want these jobs to stay here in America. My bill is very simple. If you outsource American jobs to a foreign country, you will pay a 25% fee for the value of that contract. And here's the best part. We take that 25% fee that we collect and we use it to fund trade schools, to upskill workers to be able to step up into a better, higher paying job. The bill is called the HIRE Act.
Hello and welcome back to Tracking Trends. If you thought a $100,000 fee for an H1B visa was bad news for all those who have been aspiring to go to America, worse might be coming. A Republican senator from Ohio, Bernie Moreno, has come up with a bill which is called the Halting of International Relocation of Employment. HIRE, that's how the acronym goes. If this bill is adopted in the US House, it would mean a hefty levy of tax on all those companies which are engaged in outsourcing of services in the United States. The proposal is to levy a 25% tax. If it comes through, companies like Infosys, Wipro, TCS, all of which have bases in the United States, catering to various services through their outsourcing business. Not only that, there is also going to be impact on all those American companies which are operating various centers in India, which are called the GCCs, Global Capability Centers. The ramifications are huge, but there are also people who say it may not be as easy for the Trump administration to make this bill into a law, not with the ease that he has moved on other fronts, like imposing 50% tariffs or bringing this very restrictive fee on H1B visas. How is this going to play out? Today, we are going to dive deep into it with my special guest, Srinath Sridharan, who is an author, who is a corporate advisor, who is a prolific writer on all issues that have been making headlines in the field of economy and business. But before I go over to Srinath, I would like to place a gentle reminder to you to subscribe to our channel, share it, press the bell button so that you get notified every time we come up with a new show. Srinath, welcome to Tracking Trends. I don't want to stand between you and the audience. Take us to what is the state of play now.
Thank you, Rajesh. I think this entire bill could very soon become act. While there are commentators who are saying that it may not be easy for President Trump to push this through, I am kind of cat on the wall because in the US, what has happened in the last few months was never thought to be possible in the previous 100 years. And whether it is weaponizing the bilateral relationships that US had with many other nations, the so-called strategic allies. So from that perspective, the larger narrative, this particular IR bill is all about saying MAGA, make America great again. So from that perspective, it is playing on the narrative that jobs or money that originally belonged to the American citizens have been given away almost to the rest of the world over the last few years, has been the narrative. Even in H1B, that is exactly what we have seen happening. And the classic case in this case is very simple. What we saw as H1B has been to bring cutting edge talent to the US, specifically about 25 years ago when it started, was, if you remember, the Y2K was the genesis. The US companies wanted global talent to come in. And subsequently, the US has used that to build talent not just for emerging technologies, including AI or the Web2 large big tech firms. It has also been bringing talent across STEM ecosystem. So what is changing now? There is this angst that is building up saying these are American jobs and skills which have been taken away by the rest of the world, and we need to stop it. What will it mean for India? I think very simply put, we are dependent on about 6% of our total exports comes from software. There's a net exports. There's a challenge there if it reduces. Two, the American GCCs, about out of the total capacity in India, about 60% of GCCs belong to American firms. If there is going to be a large implication of 25% tax on the American firms if they outsource, the bill is very clear. If you outsource anything outside of the US, and if a job goes to an American non-American citizen, you are liable to pay 25% additional tax on that outsourcing cost or the investments, whatever you call it, on the balance sheet. And such a cost will not be allowed to be deducted as tax deductions, which means for a corporate, American corporate, economically, it is going to become far more expensive to outsource. The larger narrative, which the US alone would be able to answer, is are there alternate or replacement talent available within the US itself? And this
Just
act,
just hold on to your thought there. For the benefit of our audience, would you explain a bit more about what are these GCCs, the Global Capability Centers, and how they have kind of proliferated, and why they have proliferated rather in the past few years?
so India today is seen the movement from BPOs to KPOs, and India is hosting a lot of American GCCs. GCCs are very different in nature compared to a BPO and KPO. BPO and KPO kind of outsource only a certain select process of it. In GCC, it is the parent company, the American company, owns the entire processes and intellectual property which gets developed in India. They export it. So instead of these employees, for example, if let's say Texas Instruments says I have to develop chip design and I find it far expensive in the US because they need to pay 300K minimum per engineer, whereas in India they can get probably for 100K they can get the same quality of talent available, and they don't need to worry about visas. They don't need to worry about everything. So they set up a center in India as GCC, and everything that is designed and developed here is actually the intellectual property of Texas Instrument, which is then filed in the US. So, so which means that we are part of that entire value chain, but India doesn't get any benefit from IP perspective. We can all claim that hey, we employ, it's an employment tick mark. And what the US administration currently is saying it from this higher act or bill is this. They're saying if you are doing anything in the value chain, which by which employment is going away from an American worker, whatever this act will bring new revenues will go into retraining American workers. So it is, while we will accuse it of domestic protectionism, I think in a sense it is a government standing up saying that I need to ensure jobs for myself because otherwise I'm going to have a local social or political unrest from this feeling that my job is going away.
Yeah, what are the chances that this bill will actually become a law?
So I'm kind of conflicted. I don't know the answer, but there are both sides of the arguments possible. One, the big tech, if you notice, not a single Indian origin CEO of an American MNC has spoken anything about the tariffs or the bills, not one. So I think
Right.
they're kind of also misled by the desi color that we want to give it to our fellow Indians who are sitting there. The reality is they are today, I think, proud employees of American firms. Their wealth creation happens from that. If we expect them to stand up and say kind of protest, the chances are they might lose their job. So, will they really stand up? Because you saw the entire dinner that the President Trump hosted a week, 10 days ago, where there's some of these big tech CEOs were all fawning over him, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so I don't think a lot of them are going to worry about it because in the larger game, it might be a small price for them to pay to get deregulated.
Yeah.
And let's not
I mean,
forget let's not forget one more aspect, Rajesh. The bigger fear is some of these big tech companies are already shaving off talent headcount by using AI. We have seen
yeah.
Oracle, we have seen Salesforce were actually deploying more of AI and trimming actual human headcount. So the challenge is, are they going to say, you know what, I will keep doing some of this, and whatever cost benefit I will get by a trade off with the administration for being deregulated instead of overt regulation. Small, I think, price to pay in the next 2 3 year term for an American company.
No, I mean, I think you pointed out something very important, that often we get too excited when we hear an Indian American has become a senator or a congressman or has become the CEO of a big American companies. Truth be told, their first identity now is, I mean, they have a professional identity, and that identity, makes them do certain things, makes them not do certain things. And also, I think they see themselves as more of a privileged American citizen than someone with Indian roots to stand up for India's cause. I mean, but unfortunately, we have that big misgiving here. We celebrate the Indian diaspora so much. We make this big pump and show about how great we are, but I think there is also a big lesson for people over India, that no matter what, at the end of the day, the Indian Americans would tend to be more aligned with America's interests and their own interests rather than what's happening to India as a country. I think it's a good moment of reckoning for a lot of people.
I mean, Rajesh, I think the best, I think, a new expansion of NRI I read on Twitter, when somebody had actually posted non-returning Indians.
Non-returning
And
Indians.
and it's true, right? After this generation,
Yeah.
their kids are not Indians. They're born there. They're American citizens.
Yeah.
So I think it's our own misgiving.
I think we must thank Trump now. Next time, all of these NRIs try to give us a lesson or two on patriotism, nationalism, we would have enough to say them, shut up. So, anyway, that's not what we are here to talk about. Let's come back now. Now let's. I was talking about what is the possibility or prospects of this higher bill actually becoming an act. And given the kind of mood and sentiments that are there and that we saw for H1B visa, actually, a lot of MAGA supporters took to social media to really express their disappointment when the US government said the 100,000 fee will not be annual but one time. I mean, there was outpouring of condemnation of that move, saying that no, it has to be every year so that these people don't come. Now, when that kind of a sentiment is there prevailing domestically, it may be also possible that proposals like higher may find support, and we may see, not in the form that it has been proposed, but in some form or the other, we may see legislations or some executive orders coming in the future. Would that be a right assessment?
I think so, Rajesh. I agree with that, because this entire narrative, at least in President Trump's second term since January this year, has been, if you don't agree with this, you're anti-American, has been the political sentiment that he's built. And it is very difficult to argue a anti-national view. So any politician is going to find that very difficult. And this Trump, this particular regime is also been kind of a bullheaded about a lot of things. It is not worried about the old world order about diplomacy, conversations, multilateralism, nothing, right? I mean, if you saw his speech in the United Nations General Assembly, he was also part true of asking questions, tough questions of the UN. I mean, what are you doing? And because he's also been one of the largest funders. US has been the largest funders. So I think this kind of conversation, he will find supporters, is my feeling. Some way or the other, he will kind of bring it back to mainstream conversation. So the reality is, I think he's playing to domestic politics. It is very important. Let's not forget, any head of state globally has to survive the next election. I mean, if not them, their party. So heart of heart, they're going to bring it back to domestic sustenance.
So, what should India be doing, Indian IT companies be doing, in order to preempt or minimize the impact of a potential adoption of higher, the law that has been proposed, Halting International Relocation of Employment Act?
See, the challenge there, Rajesh, is it is worded in a way that it basically says American employees. So it is going to be very challenging because you can't expect American employees to come and work sitting in Goa or Kerala. So either you have to build capability centers sitting in the US, which is very expensive, and not far-fetched, but he's basically saying that I want companies to come into the US, invest capital, come what may in whatever form. And that's one realistic for the Indian big techs. I think they should. Why not? I mean, if large Indian tech companies can do share buyback, if they can rather put some of their money for good use by investing in other countries. So that's something that either go and do a M&A, buy smaller companies, boutique firms. All of that is a possibility. And I think that is also a wake up call that we have to decide whether we want to remain as cyber coolies or do we want to go up the value chain. And I think 30 years of milking the being a nation of body shoppers, I think we should move up the value chain quickly. So
Absolutely.
it won't happen overnight. It will take time. There's a short term pain we need to go through.
Absolutely. But we keep getting these wake up calls from time to time. Most of the times we don't respond or we fail to respond. And I think you again raised a very valid point. All our so called celebrated IT companies, they have just bothered about the profit margins and how they plow back that profit to their shareholders. So instead of buybacks, they could have very easily invested. If they haven't done so, at least this is a moment of reckoning. They should start doing course correction, and they should be, instead of doing share buyback and paying hefty dividend, they should be rerouting their profit, reinvesting their profit into doing things that will help them stay more resilient and be able to weather such adversities. Thank you, Srinath, for joining us and explaining to our audience the intricacies of the proposed Hire Act. And to our audience, if you have liked the video, we'd like to get deep into the issues and bring out things that the general public should be made more aware of. Please share and subscribe to our channel and keep coming back. Thank you, Srinath, once again.
Thanks, Rajesh. Pleasure.